Alright, welcome back to another week, another lesson of Bionicle book learning lore. We are unfortunately a little light on our class today due to Sasha and Tristan. Yes, Jason?
Did we get extra credit?
No, I already let you wear your pajamas and you're eating chocolate salty balls. So that is your treat. Speaking of which, Zach, where the fuck are mine?
Nobody offered me. Oh, hell yeah, dog.
Let's go.
Teacher can't eat.
Hey, teacher can shut the fuck up.
You literally just said that you can shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and you can too. Alright. Now that the rabble has silenced themselves.
You don't speak for us.
Jesus Christ.
There's fewer people. We have to be louder by consequence, right?
I'll allow it on a technicality. Alright, so. Bionicle 107. It's actually on here this time. I didn't have to write it up there or right here. Alright, so. Last time we were the Book 5, Inferno. We just talked about how the Paraka had entered the chamber, the Mask of Life, descended 777 steps, walked into a room on the right. Here comes Gold-Faced Night Terror, Irnak, who completely just demolished the Paraka until Zaktan was like, I literally hate everything so much that I'm just not afraid. And if I kill everyone, Irnak, you can't exist because you only exist through your fear. And Irnak was like, GG, easy peasy. And let Zaktan go and all the Paraka go on. So now we've moved to the Toa and Nika. Have followed down 777 steps. And reached the same crossroads. And Matoro's like, yeah, I think they went to the door on the right. And Huki's like, no. The stone here, it's been here for so long. It seems like it's been here hundreds of years. There's no way they could have gone through the door on the right. You're like, okay, well, I guess the only door is the one on the left. And Kongu is like, am I the only one who listened to Traga Matow's teachings about why we never take things left? It's only right. And so they go down the left passageway and they enter. As they do, the room seals behind them, and there in front of them is a Rakshi Turok, one of the red Rakshi, a Bohrok, a Bohrok-Kal, a Nui Rama, which is one of like the little buzzy wasp, Rahi, I think a Muwaka, which is one of the tiger cats, and just straight up Makuta. All just chilling in this room. And so they're like, oh, what the hell is this? So Kongu immediately starts trying to read all their minds and can't get anything. It's just radio silence with his massive telepathy. So everyone starts to find someone to pick up, and they all start getting to fighting. Jala takes on the Turok, the Rakshi. Kongu, I believe, it's either Kongu or Huki, I can't remember which one. One of them takes on Muwaka, one of the others takes on Makuta, I believe. And then everybody else is taking on whatever. And Jala's kind of like fighting this Turok, and they're all trying to figure out, like, why is there this room full of like 6, like, completely different, weirdly, like, not even, like, okay, there's a Rakshi and Makuta, that makes sense, but there's a Bohrok, and the Bohrok-Kal, but the Bohrok-Kal only exists if the Bohrok are doing the thing, and the Queen's trapped, and the Bohrok-Kal, so why is there a Bohrok-Kal, and the random Rahi, what's going on? So Jala's fighting this Turok, and he's starting to have a little bit of PTSD, because he's like, oh man, I'm fighting this Turok, and a Turok is the thing that killed me before. And man is like, I died before, I could die again. No, I won't die again. I'm gonna throw out some fire and, disable this thing. And as like all the other Toa, the Anika, they're fighting their respective combatants, and even Kongu is like, Makuta here? Yeah, I hate this dude. He's like, honestly, I should just kill this guy right here. With everything Makuta's put us through, I should just kill him right now. I can do it too. Okay, I'll just kill him dead. And then he's like, no balls. Yeah, exactly. Well, he's like, no, if I do that, then, I'm no better than him, so I can't kill him. Because once again, Toa Code, yes.
You said this was Jaladan saying this?
Kongu.
He's which one again?
Green.
Okay, but they were literally just talking to Takanuva earlier, and he already killed Makuta.
Indirectly. Because once again, Takanuva pushed Makuta into a pool of energized protodermis and they fused together to make Takuta Nuva, and he opened up a door and used a little too much energy, and the door just fell and killed the being known as Takuta Nuva. And the Mask of Light slid out and they T-posed to bring back the light. So he didn't really kill Makuta, it just kind of happened.
He's seppuku. He fused in seppuku.
Yeah, so
It's okay if you physically deform and ruin the life of another, but you can't kill them.
It's like
Yeah.
It's like Yu-Gi-Oh logic.
yeah,
It's
no.
like way more fucked up to send someone to the Shadow Realm
And
than
actually
actually
just
just
hell.
outright killing them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, that's a Bionicle universe. It's all fucked up.
Your mind is gone, but now you're fucked.
Tell your sister you have failed, Joey. She lives in darkness now.
Darkness.
Right, so
He doesn't want to kill Makuta.
Snap out of it.
it's just so stupid and funny. Alright, so, Kong was like, I should kill him, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna shoot him with this thing, and all of a sudden, all of the Toa's weapons or powers just blast off on their own, just way more powerful than they should be. Jala from his fire sword just ignites a boatload of fire and lightning and just turns the rock sheet to ashes. Holly destroys the Nui Rama. Huki and Kongu both, like, their weapons just go off on their own and they fire their Zamor launchers and just destroy Makuta and Waka. All of a sudden, all their, like, powers and their weapons have acted on their own, and they were suddenly really freaked out because all the damage they did was nowhere what they had meant to do. They meant to show a lot of restraint, and their powers just went out of control. And now there's just like 6 just piles of ash and body on the floor. And all the Toa and Nike are freaking out. They're like, oh man, oh wow, we didn't mean to do that. Oh man, this like maybe the Anika power of this Anika, this whole like it's too much power for any one Toa to have. Like, what is this? This is we can't do it. And all of a sudden they look back at the bodies, and the bodies on the floor are revealed to be the bodies of the 6 Toa Nuva, who have been killed by the Toa and Nika. And immediately the Toa and Nika are just broken. Holly starts crying. Huki and Nuparu are babbling, they're freaking out. Jala is just looking on at this, confused. Motoro is trying to find something to say. And even Kongu's just like, this is enough of this. He's like, we come here, we try to save this Mask of Life, you know, we don't even know that Toa here, and now we've killed them. How can we go on like this? And Jala looks at everyone and goes, we have to keep going on. He's like, even though, if this is the case of what happened, we killed the Toa Nuva, they fought and died bravely. They fought so hard for everything for us for so long, and right now, finding this Mask of Life is infinitely more important. We have no other choice. We have to keep proceeding. And they're like, even though we've done this, he's like, especially though that we've done this, because that's what the Toa Nuva would have wanted, is us to continue and see our mission through no matter what. And everyone is kind of very somber, and they all kind of rouse themselves a little bit, and they're like, we won't let this, this sacrifice go to waste. We will complete our mission. And as they start to exit the room, because another chamber is opened up, as they start to exit the room, they're talking back and forth, and they turn back, and all of a sudden the bodies are all gone. And they're like, well, what happened? They were just there. What happened to them? And Kongu goes, so earlier I was using my Kanohi Selectu, and I noticed that I couldn't read any of the minds of anybody we were fighting with. So there's also the possibility that there was never anyone there to begin with. And they all go like, man, this is a fucked up chamber. Like, this is a weird trial, man. So they continue on, yes.
Wouldn't they have just been like, we saw like a fake Nuva earlier, like, surely, like, all of the enemies we've ever fought that are not here, that don't make sense to be here, and then they just turn into all of them, like, all their friends, like...
So once again, they're going after, like, a magical, crazy artifact. Like, anything is on the table. To be fair, they also found out that the realm of Karzani existed like a week ago, which they thought was just a Matoran fable. They also, like in the span of like a day or so, traveled into canisters and became Toa out of nowhere. In like 2 days, now they're here.
So all their brains just really hurt. So
They're like,
stressed out.
everything's going so fast and loose. They're like anything is possible. Yes, Jason.
On that note, you mentioned like the power of the Anika. I don't remember hearing where the term Anika for Toa Anika came from.
Oh, okay. So going back, I did mention there, Anika is the Matoran word for lightning, and because they were struck by the red bolts of lightning, and it they took on the self-proclaimed title of Toa Anika.
I remember the lightning stuff. I just didn't remember that was.
Yeah. So that's what it is there.
Okay, gotcha. I remember now.
So they've conquered the Chamber of Fear just like the Paraka did. And the Paraka, then we swap over. A quick thing: the book actually starts with a little like precursor piece from 100,000 years ago, where just 100,000 years ago, it's whatever. Two beings in hooded robes are carrying with them a small metal container. And as they're carrying them, through the island of, the Foya Nui that was once part of a much larger continent, and there's Matoran working everywhere around them. They don't pay any mind to these two hooded strangers. And they're carrying a very special artifact with it. They are carrying in this canister the Mask of Life. Now, these two beings would be later known and called by the Matoran as the Great Beings. These are the people who, according to Matoran myth, sent Motunui down from the heavens to give everyone purpose and everything. They are above Motunui. And these two beings here, and they walk into the jungles of what is now Voya Nui, and they just start using their powers to just start terraforming the land and creating what will become the 777 steps down to the Mask of Life's underground. Yes, Jason.
I'm sorry, this just raises a whole bunch of new questions for me, because the whole point of this quest is that if Motunui dies, and they don't get the Mask of Life to him in time, that the universe will just cease to exist.
Yes, everything in the Matoran universe will cease to exist.
But there's beings above him.
Yes.
So why would the universe not cease to exist if something happened to them? Unless there's other Matoran universes.
The presumption is that the great beings exist outside of the Matoran universe.
Because they're
and created the Matoran universe, and then instilled Motunui as its deity.
So they're real people. They're just us.
No. It's not.
No, they may be.
But also last time I remember we were learning about like Karzani and other powerful beings. I don't know if there's a term for them.
They're just other powerful beings that were created. We'll get much more into like the creation and everything, the Matoran universe down the line. But just to be clear, by words of Karzani, initially after the Matoran universe was created and everything, there were basically only really two big beings of powers that were created by the great beings, and those were Artaka and Karzani. Artaka wears the third legendary Kanohi mask, the Great Mask of Creation. That he won in a contest, and it was because they wanted to see who would do better, Artaka or Karzani, and they had a duel, presumably, and Artaka won. So Artaka gets the Mask of Creation, and Artaka is known as the Great Creator, able to create just about anything. Even in Matoran mythos and lore, they say that in the realm of Artaka, if any Matoran wanted anything to be made, they only need leave the materials at the doorstep of Artaka's home, and if they returned the next day, whatever they wanted built would be built.
Yes. I don't remember the name. What's the name of Karzani's? Because his gave like the mind
Karzani
visions.
is the great Elisi. It's the mask of alternate futures.
Alternate futures.
So it shows alternate future possibilities.
Way less useful than Mask of Creation.
Way less useful. Well, now you see why there's a tournament for it. It couldn't be just like, all right, boys, who's gonna win?
So is that the consolation prize, or did he get it elsewhere?
Presumably it might have been his original mask that they gave him before that, and then they were like, because we don't know what Artaka's original mask was. We just know that he wears the Great Mask of Creation. So yeah, presumably they were there, and at some point they instilled Motunui as like an actual deity, not like a powerful being. So the Great Beings are they're terraforming the land and carving out the ground and basically creating what will be the Chamber of Death and the Chamber of Fear and the Chamber of Life. And all these passageways into what will become the resting place of the Kanohi Ignaika, the Mask of Life. And so, as they're they create a pedestal for it, one goes to open the case and reaches like he's going to touch it, and the other one's like, hey, no, man, like, listen, don't touch that thing. You know what happened to the guy who touched it last. And he's like, yeah, I remember. So they both like take their spears and they kind of like hold it up together, and it's sending out jolts of power through their spears and shocking them, whatever, because apparently the mask can curse things. The mask is sentient. Like, that's how powerful this thing is. So they place the mask on the pedestal, and they leave knowing that, and they leave while setting up some other chambers, and leave a few guardians here and there. Presumably that the Mask of Life will also create some of its own guardians if it needs any more, and they leave. So going back to the present, the Paraka now enter what is the Chamber of Death. They enter, and as soon as they walk in, 6 cages fall down around them. And they're like, So this voice just starts speaking in the room and goes, you 6 here have entered and into this Chamber of Death, and you will either leave together or all die together. The choice is yours. At the front of each of your cages is a lever. If you all pull the lever together at the same time, the cages will open, and you'll be able to walk free.
Oh no.
If one of you pulls the lever before all the others will die. And so immediately, like, all the Paraka freak out because they're like, who's gonna do it? And Zaktan, like, they're all like, who? And Zaktan's like, everybody shut the fuck up. Don't move. And because obviously the presumption is they'd all betray each other in a heartbeat. Like, why wouldn't they? And so they're like, okay, we're not touching anything, He's like, all right. Zaktan's like, everybody on 3. We pull the levers together. So grab the levers, and 1, and Radok pulls his lever, and they all fall. Like, holes open up beneath the cage, and they all fall through the floor. Yes, Jason.
I can't. Wouldn't Zaktan just be able to like phase through the cage if he's made of a bunch of like micro?
I think he wasn't able to. For whatever reason, they're like stasis tubes. It's solid enough that you can't just phase through. Okay. It's not like the Kanohi Kakama mask where you can run fast enough and make your atoms just vibrate fast enough that you can move through solid objects. Zaktan's body is made of prototypes, which are just small, like very microscopically small beings, but they're not at an atomic level.
I thought you meant it was just a cage.
Oh, I mean, it's like a cage, and there's like a tube. There's enough there that Zaktan can't just like, I'm just gonna slip right out. So they fall through, and all of a sudden they land on a stone surface down below, and they all start to get up, and they're like, what the heck was that? And Radok was like, I didn't mean to do that. I'm just not good at counting, I guess. And everyone's like, are you serious? They're like, all right, well, what do we do? All of a sudden, jets of fire start shooting horizontally and start moving downwards. They're like, well, okay, well, we can deal with this later. Right now, we need to get out of here, because these things are just going to roast us to a crisp. So everyone gets on the floor, commando crawling, because they're like, these things are getting lower and lower, and Zaktan is like, there's a giant body of water over there. Vizok, go over there, swim in there, see if you can find us an exit, quick. Vizok is like, yeah, it's too hot in here, I'm going to go do that. Jumps in the water, he finds his way out, he's like, I could just go about myself, but if they found out, and if they catch up to me, I should just go back now. So he goes back and goes, hey guys, there's a way over here. They travel through the waters and find a point where it will surface vertically, and they all surface together and get out. And they make their way to the next room, not noticing that this is some weird water, and that their bodies are already being subtly changed without them even knowing.
Is this protodermic water?
I mean, I don't believe it is protodermic water, but it is mutagenic water. So then we get over to the Toa and Nika, and they have entered their next room. They've entered the Chamber of Death. As the walls close and a booming voice comes out, it's like, you, Toa, have entered here to claim the Mask of Life, and this is the Chamber of Death. One of you must choose to die. Yes, Zach.
It's not a chamber of secrets?
No, there's no Chamber of Secrets. Yes, James.
So they're not going through the same rooms as the...
No, they're not. They went down split paths.
Ah.
The Paraka took a right path, the Nika took a left path, and even then, the Paraka are not taking the original path because they found another way to get in since they failed the one room.
Right.
So
Chamber of Death.
this booming voice is saying, Yutoa and Nika have made it through the previous room, and now you're entering the Chamber of Death. The Mask of Life requires a great sacrifice, and so one of you must be chosen to die. must be sacrificed so that the others may go on. And immediately everyone's like, no way, not gonna happen. Huki, see if we can find a way out. See if we can open the stone.
Jala's already died. Seems like he'd be used to it.
And so immediately, so the voice again just repeats, like, this is the room, this is the chamber of death. Like, one of you must die as the Kanohi Naika requires a sacrifice. One of you must be volunteer to die. And so they're all kind of looking around, and Jala starts thinking about it, and he goes, I'm the team leader. I'm the one ahead of this. It should be me. And as he goes to, like, speak up, he suddenly has a little bit more of that PTSD, where he's like, he died once already, and was brought back to life before. But still, the fear of death still is in him. And he hesitates for just a moment, and then Matoro raises his hand and goes, I'll do it. I volunteer. It makes the most sense for me. And everyone's like, what? No, absolutely not. There's no, we're going to find our way out. We'll find a way to get out of here. Matoro goes, no, guys, listen. Jala is like, I'm not a warrior like Jala or Kongu. I'm not a pro athlete like Huki. I'm not an inventor or a chronicler like Nuparu or Holly. I'm just a translator. And that's all I've ever been, is just a translator and someone who's always kept secrets from his friends by having to keep those. So it's like, if anyone, it makes the most sense, because we don't know what's going to go on in this room, it makes the most sense that it's me who has to die. And everyone is like, they all kind of mull over the moment for a second, and then they kind of commiserate on this. And they all kind of say their farewells, and Matoro goes, the chamber's like, have you chosen? And Matoro goes, yes, I volunteer. And a column of light, boom, suddenly surrounds Matoro. And as he stands in this light, he suddenly begins to just vanish and fade and get Thanos out of existence, with only his mask remaining in the light. And the Toa and Ike are just crushed, because they were like, we knew this was going to be a dangerous journey, but this is not the way we would have wanted things to go. And suddenly, in this column of light, starts swirling around, and from the mask starts spinning and glowing, and all of a sudden Matoro reforms to his original form and is brought back down. And the room and the voice in the chamber goes, you've passed this test. One of you has chosen to be so self-sacrificing that they would let themselves die so the others may carry on. You have completed this room. And everyone's like, Matoro, you're alive! And he's like, yeah, it was really weird for a second there, just nothing. But I guess I'm back. So they immediately start to move on to the next room. The Baraka, who have gotten out of their chamber, they find themselves in, like, where there's a lot of, like, molten lava and canyon-side stuff, because they're deep under the island now, presumably getting closer towards the actual volcano, Mount Valmai. And they go, all right, well, let's continue on. And Zactan's like, no, let's not. Those Toa and Naika are probably on the way. And they're probably getting through rooms because they have great teamwork, which we do not have. So let's just ambush them. Let's all just hide ourselves up and get ready to ambush them. So the Baraka agree anyway. The Toa make their way into the next room, where all of a sudden there are these giant, insectoid, fire-breathing monsters that are coming at them. And the Toa start trying to hit them, and they all kind of like phase out of the way. And they're like, what is going on with these things? And one of them was like, I think that's a prototype. They're like, well, that's impossible. Prototypes are really, really tiny, little, small, those things that made Zactan are made of. Like, how can one be this big? And they're like, I don't know, but we need to fight these things. All of a sudden, this double-sided staff comes down and, boom, just destroys all of these protodaxes. And there's this huge figure, this powerful-looking figure in the room with a double-sided staff, and he's got, like, these sweet, like, rollerblade treads on his feet. And they're like, and the Toa and Ike are, who are you? And the figure declares themselves as, I am Umbra, one of the guardians and protectors of the Mask of Life. Toa, if you choose now, I will allow you to leave. Leave now, never return, and never again quest for the Mask of Life, and you will live. However, if you choose to pursue on, I have no issue with killing Toa, as I've done before. And so, Kongu, once again, is just like, this is ridiculous. Like, we've already had to fight so many different things, gone through, like, this is ridiculous. One more guy. Let's go ahead and do this. Umbra, so he raises his crossbow up to shoot at Umbra, and fires it. And Umbra just catches the bolt out of midair and then runs past Kongu and smacks him on the head. And Kongu falls down. He's like, what was that? So he gets back up and goes to try and fire again. Umbra runs so fast between them all and disarms all of the Toa and sends them scattered to the walls. And they're like, oh man. And so they're like, we don't have any weapons. How are we going to fight this guy? So Motoro goes and he's like, I've got an idea. Motoro sends out his elemental ice ability to ice over the entirety of the floor, and Umbra goes to speed up again and just completely, the floor is, there's no friction on the floor because it's all ice, and just boom, slams into a wall. So Toa and I can all go get their weapons back. They're like, all right, we've got our stuff, but he's not down yet. And so Umbra stands up again, looks at the Toa, goes, round 2, and turns into a beam of light, and just shoom, cuts through the air. Jala and Huki have barely had any time to duck under where they were, and the point where they were is just vaporized. The rock near they were standing has been vaporized by this light beam as Umbra reforms himself. And they're like, all right, guys, don't get hit, or it's all over from here. And so the Toa are all jumping around. They're trying to dodge and weave and not get hit by these light beams. They're like, what do we need to do, guys? What's the outcome? You know, what's the deal? And Motoro's like, Jala's like, Motoro, I've got an idea. I need you to throw up some walls of ice, but I need them to be so finely made you can see your reflection in them. So Motoro does just this. He starts making these little walls of ice that are just super, super crystalline clear. Holly is pulling moisture and water and summoning her element out of the air to give Motoro more resources to make more ice. And soon enough, the entire room is covered in all of these ice walls that are almost like a mirror. And so they bait Umbra to hit one of them, and he starts bouncing off all of the mirrors of ice until finally he's just going so fast he just smacks into a wall and is knocked out and defeated. And so I was like, cool, good job. Man, Motoro came in clutch last 2 rooms. All right. And at this point, Jala noticed, even before that, he was like, he knew that everyone in the group regarded Jala as the team leader, but noticed that Motoro had really kind of taken the lead on things here. And so they move out of this room into the next one where there's Cavern Wall. Nuparo uses his Great Kenobi Kadim, the Mask of Flight, to fly ahead around and scout things out. And he comes back and he's like, all right, there's Paraka ahead. They're going to ambush us. And they're like, all right, we just shoot first. And so all of the Toa and Naika run out, not guns, but Zamor spears, Zamor launchers ablazing, and start just
Same thing,
shooting at the Paraka with their laser harpoons and their laser drills and their fire swords and their ice swords and such. And the Paraka are just shooting more Zamor spears back at them. Nobody's really hitting each other. Until eventually the Paraka make their way across this like bridge, and Jala shoots, one of the Toa shoots up at them and misses and causes a rock slide from the cliff, and just the Toa and Aika are just buried under a just wave of rubble. And Zactan's like, all right, that has to have killed them. We're so close to the Mask of Life. Let's keep going. So they proceed to move in towards the final room, the Chamber of the Mask of Life, and there they see Vizon and Fenrak, the mysterious 7th Toa and his giant spider, which we had last week. We do not have this week for purposes. And so...
Purposes?
Purposes. We'll get there.
I thought you had him.
Listen, like purposes.
Did you have to repurpose the parts?
Yes.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yes, we had to repurpose the parts. And so Vizon and Fenrak is like, hey guys, what's up? Immediately, Avok is like, not dealing with this, throws up the prison around Vizon and Fenrak, and Vizon's like, oh man, is that any way to say hi to me? It's been so long, guys. You don't want to say hi to me? And they're like, look, we know you have the Mask of Life. Somewhere, where is it? And he's like, all right, guys, all right. I'll give you the Mask of Life. You gotta do something for me first. And the Paraka are like, wait, seriously? Yeah? And he's like, yeah, totally. They're like, okay, what do you need? What do you want us to do? He's like, oh, you gotta kill Vizok. And immediately Hakan turns to Vizok, fires a lava launcher at him. Radok goes and shoves him. Avok creates like a prison. Or no, it's not Avok's creating prison. He's already got another prison going on. Thok wills the ground to like create rock manacles around him and hold him in place. While and so they just boom throw him against the wall and start beating him up. Vizok who has the innate ability to absorb any the properties of any attack that he's hit with, and reflect it, takes on the ability of Radok's ability to not be able to beat by saying things twice, and his incredible strength, as well as Thought's ability to manipulate things, and Hakon's ability to do mental blast, and immediately does the same thing to all those Paraka, and just knocks him back down. He gets up and he's like, "Are you guys serious? Do you really think he would just give it to you? He's just messing with us, guys. Vizon, you have the Mask of Life, don't you? It's probably cursed you, hasn't it?" And Vizon's like, Yep, sure has. It fused itself to my head when I picked it up. And then it fused me to this spider. Isn't that crazy? Now we're all fused together." And they're like, "That's unfortunate."
That's how he felt emotionally, probably.
That guy was blown away by that.
Yeah, for real. And so they're like, Hard is like, "Speaking of fusion," he's like, "that's how we got separated, isn't it, Vizok? With this spear of fusion I have in my hands. I wonder what I could do with this." And Vizok and Thok go to attack him, and he fuses them together into this one monstrosity, and the other Paraka are like, "Oh, shit." And that immediately just starts having it fight, and it defeats all the other 4 Paraka. Yes.
Do you have the fused monstrosity?
I do not have the fused monstrosity. I do not believe they ever made an official toy for it or combiner that could do it. I know, it's awful because
Let me down.
I know. Well, so Ernak is made of a combiner model of Radok, Vizok, and Thok, but they later released him with like a special edition gold spine and tubies that you could get at Walmart's in the United States. So that's where that all in that nightmare thing. But other than that, like the Paraka didn't really have any great. They had a few combiner models, but I don't really think any of the other ones were canon for them. Yes, Jason.
I know I keep asking about stuff that we already learned last time, but
Yeah.
just jog my memory where the Spear of Fusion came from.
Spear of Fusion came out from Makuda's lair when the Paraka were ransacking it.
On Metronome.
In that pseudo realm, like it was Matanui, but not quite.
Oh.
Yes, and Hakan grabbed it and fired it at Vizok and split him into Vizok and Vizon. Vizon being the Matoran word for double. And then Vizon ran off before the other Paraka could catch up to him. So immediately this is all this happening. The Toa dig themselves out of the boulders, and they're like, "All right, guys, we need to go follow them." So they proceed to. Now, for here, we're going to cut back a bit because Axon has this entire time just been sitting in a cave with Brutaka, who has been kind of just tied up. But Axon, knowing that if the Toa complete their mission, like they're supposed to, Brutaka's probably going to get up and they're going to have themselves a fight. So we never really talked about why Brutaka has betrayed the Order of Matsui and Axon and the Matoran and everything, and it's kind of trying to find the Mask of Life. We never really delved into that. But the long and the short of it is that Brutaka had spent millennia on this island with Axon, guarding the Mask of Life. They were like best boys. They were, Axon was Kiryu, and Brutaka was Nishikiyama, and they were best bros. For those of you who play the Yakuza games. They were
Kyodai.
Oh, Kyodai. And they really were. They were best dude bros. But over time, as they spent millennia, thousands and thousands of years on this island, Brutaka began to feel that there was a shift in the universe. Like Matanui wasn't out there listening to them anymore. He had abandoned them and forsaken them. Or he might be dead, or who knows what. And that the world would need that power void. In fact, there was one time when Brutaka was so bored, there was a Tatarak running around, and I forgot to mention this. Brutaka wears the best mask, arguably one of the best masks in the entire series. He wears the Kanohi Olmak, the great Kanohi mask of dimensional gates. Brutaka can just open up dimensional portals to transport you wherever, whenever, in whichever universe he chooses to. He can open up a portal and send you to it, and you'll be 3 miles under the ocean. Or in another dimension entirely. Or whatever. It's a crazy power. So one day he just got so bored, he was like, this Tatarak there, yeet, opens up a portal under it and drops the Tatarak into the middle of Metro Nui, which is how the Tatarak ended up in Metro Nui in the first place. Which is why the question is asking is, what is the answer is, it was trying to figure out how it ended up out of like a lush jungle area into the middle of a metropolitan city. And Brutaka just did it for funsies. He just thought it was hilarious.
They said we never learned what the question was.
Oh, we have now. I got built some suspense. I gotta build some suspense. But even then, I answered that a while back. I said that the question was, how did he get here? But they reveal it.
Right.
Yeah, but they reveal it in this book is what it is. And so
Tadrak's currently like in a.
Tadrak is currently in the Zone of Shadows with Kraka and the Zybon. Mysteriously lost for the last 1,000 years or so. Since the battle in Metro Nui with the Tohordika and the Rahaga and everything. And so, going back, Brutaka gets up finally, his powers having been returned to him since the Bionicle had hit him with Hakan and Thok with that magic Zamor spirit. It returns Brutaka's powers back to him. And Brutaka's like, alright, he's like, Axon, I don't understand, just get out of the way, man. I have to go get this mask, and I'm gonna. And Axon is like, Brutaka, I don't understand. Why are you doing this? Motunui has not given up on us. I will defeat you. And Brutaka says, if you continue to do this, if you choose to die by my hand, Axon, so be it. And immediately, axe and twin blade sword clash, and they're starting to fight each other. Brutaka does a leg sweep. Axon drops to the ground. Axon gets back up. Brutaka hits him with an energy blast a few times and sweeps him again, knocks him down. And Axon just keeps getting up. And Brutaka says, why do you keep getting up? Why would you not just stay down and let me go do this? Don't you see what I'm trying to do is the best for everyone? And Axon gets up and just shadows over his eyes is just, I renounce you, Brutaka. And just starts just wide Putin walking towards Brutaka. Brutaka shoots out a beam of energy. It clips Axon, and he's just still. Just keeps on walking. Does it again, and he's like, ah, crap. It's only in a few times out of the thousands of years they've been together have you ever seen Axon in this like unstoppable berserker rage mode. Where Axon is just, I will do my duty as a protector of the Order of Motunui now. And goes, so Brutaka opens up the dimensional gate behind him and starts clashing with these, like, I'm going to push you through this. I'm going to push you back through. And Axon is like getting there, but then he sees this, because he's like, I need it, because I need the green juice. I need the green juice in the vat. That's what the Praga give me. And so Axon sees this as his chance, because Brutaka is kind of getting overwhelmed, and he's going to go reach for the green juice in the vat of Antidermis. And Brutaka grabs his axe, swings it out, and destroys the vat of Antidermis in the middle of the room. And as Axon hears Brutaka screaming, no, Axon could almost swear for a minute he heard a second voice yelling out no. So Brutaka has become enraged, but Axon doesn't care and just, boom, backhands him with his axe and knocks him the fuck out. Axon has defeated Brutaka after a well-fought battle and goes to tie him up, and all of a sudden, boom, from the side of the cave that they were in, which is the Brutaka stronghold, whatever, comes in this giant. So if Axon is like 8 foot tall, the Tower is 6 foot tall, and Brutaka is like 12 foot tall, the being that walks in is probably like 16 foot tall. And his name is Botar, and he is this horribly massive and menacing figure. He's got these huge fangs, and he walks in. Before this, I guess I should. I'll continue. His name is Botar. Now, during the fight between Axon and Brutaka, Axon had kind of threatened Brutaka at one point, saying, if you keep this up, I'm gonna summon Botar. And Brutaka's like, no way, you wouldn't do that. Like, big bad Chad, Kyle punching, drywall destroying, antidermis roid range Brutaka defeated 6 Toa Nuva and 6 Matoran in one swing of a sword, as well as 4 other Paraka. Like, he is afraid of the name Botar. That's who walks in the room. And he goes over and just picks Brutaka up under his arm. He's like, hey, Axon, you know why I'm here. And Axon's like, wait, please, it doesn't have to be like this. And Botar is like, nope, it does. He knows the rules. You know the rules. You know what happens with traitors and people who defect. Anyone who becomes a threat to the Order of Motunui. And Axon is like, please, Botar is like, he can be redeemed. Is there any way? And Botar is like, listen, if you want to exchange yourself in place of Brutaka, by all means. And Axon's like, no, I'm okay. But he is also like, one day I will free you, Brutaka. I swear it. And Botar is like, you can try. And him and Axon leave the room. So down below, the Vizon is just having fun, just watching this Paraka fused monster just beat up all the other Paraka, and finally just unfuses him, and Thok and Vizok just fall apart. And they're passed out. And he's like, "Man, this is so easy. This is great." Yes.
Did they make a toy of Botar?
They did make a toy of Botar. Botar is a combiner model of Axon and Brutaka. I will try to have him built next week. If not next week, then the week after that, because he will come back.
These lazy combiner models, like, we won't make a new one, just make them out of the same ones you were.
Yes, Jason.
So he's not in the prison anymore?
Who?
Vizon?
Vizon was not in the prison at any point.
I thought you said that as soon as he showed up, they imprisoned him.
Oh, yeah, no, he fused that monster together, and with the Spear of Fusion, and then it beat up all the other Paraka, including Abok, who was holding up the prison.
Okay.
So, no one's conscious to hold up the prison.
So did they just become like a mindless...
Yeah, he just became like a mindless just destroyer
attacking
thing.
everything, okay.
Yes, that Vizon told to attack.
They just became fucking Bohrok.
Yeah, more or less. So Vizon unfuses them, and he's like, "Hey, LMAO, I'm so great. That was kind of hilarious, guys. GG, easy peasy." And the Toa and Aika then show up, and the Vizon is just like, "Oh, look, more people to play with. Man, it's gonna be so crazy. I get to kill 6 Paraka and 6 Toa today. What a great day for me." When the Toa are like, "No way, guy. We're gonna beat you up. We're gonna take that Mask of Life." He's like, "Hey, have fun trying to take the Mask of Life. It's fused to my head. And even if you wanted to, you couldn't kill me." And so the Toa start firing energy blasts at him. And any damage they do to Vizon or the Fenrak Spider immediately heals up. Like it never happened. And they're like, Mask of Life, remember? Doesn't let me die, doesn't let me sustain damage for long, so I just keep healing up. So they're trying to figure out what to do. Jala throws out a stray fire blast, and it hits the rock under where Vizon and the Fenrak Spider are standing on, and all of a sudden it just tumbles down, and they fall into the lava. And they're like, "Oh no!"
Why?
They were on like a cliff.
No, why are they upset? They literally uncovered the Mask of
the Mask of Life is now in the lava.
Yeah, but the Mask of Light came from the lava.
The Mask of Light came from a stone that got dropped in the lava and floated back
it was
up.
fine.
Yeah, but now I gotta figure out a way to get the Mask of Life out of the lava. There's nothing saying
Lava farm.
It was yeah. Yeah, Jala was a lava farmer.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Just farm that lava. So Jala goes up and he goes, "All right, guys. Here's the deal. I'm now relinquishing my leadership of the Toa and Aika to you, Huki. You are now the new leader. Lead the Toa to victory. I'm gonna jump into the lava and get the Mask of Life out." And they're like, "Jala, no. There's no way you'll survive that. You won't last more than 10 seconds in there." And he's like, "That's 10 seconds longer than any of you would last. So I'll have enough time, hopefully, to be able to jump in, grab it, and give it up to you before I die." And they're like, "All right." And as Jala's about to jump in, boom! Out of the lava comes Vizon and a giant friggin' dragon named Cardass. And Cardass dragon.
Monster Cardass.
I thought you said Lardass.
No. Cardass, whatever you want to call him. Him a big boy. He opened his teeth and goes, "Ah!" His wings do a thing.
Can you do that directly into the mouth?
And Vizon is like, "I'm back, guys." He's like, "Hey, that's the crazy thing about this Mask of Life is even if you find a way to destroy us, the mask will resurrect us."
Is he fused to that now?
He is kind of fused to it. Also, like on the toy itself, you can see where there's like the Paraka face, and then like the Mask of Life is fused on the one solid part.
Oh, that's cool.
There. So he's got his little Mask of Fusion. He's doing his thing. He's being a spooky boy. He's got little lights in his eyes and stuff, and his $20 cape. And so,
Got that drip, man.
Yeah, and so Cardass immediately starts shooting out giant beams of energized lasers everywhere. And they're like, "Yeah, that's the thing about Cardass here, is that he's got so much energy, he just can't contain it, so hope it won't be a problem for you." He's basically Bionicle Godzilla. He's shooting out nuclear heat death beams. And the Toa are like, "How do we deal with this?"
Butaka.
So, Before they had gotten there, Axon had happened to give Jala another special, or it was Huki, I can't remember who, gave him another specialized Zamor spear and went, use this once you get there. It's going to be wild. And he was like, yeah, sure, whatever. He takes aim with his magic silver, or his gold, I can't remember. One of them was silver, one of them was gold. I think this one's silver.
You said the last one was gold.
Last one was gold, so this one is silver. Aims it at Cardus and shoots him with it. It hits Cardus, Dragon, and Vizon. Before this, because they're trying to buy time to, get it so that, Huki can actually make the shot. Because they're just firing laser beams everywhere, and they're like, guys, what do? We need to figure out something. And Jala's like, Kongu, use your mask of telepathy and try to read the mind of the mask. And Kongu's like, what? He's like, no, there's no reason why I would want to do that. He's like, no, apparently the mask can go ahead and create life and create protectors like this. There's a good chance it can think. Figure out, see if there's anything in there, and just see if you can mess with Vizon long enough that we can get this shot lined up. Kongu uses his mask of telepathy to read the mind of mask, and he finds out, he kind of is hit with like this flashback dream sequence of the mask of life in the chamber, and Vizon, finds the mask of life. He passed through all the trials, no problem, and he grabs the mask and fuses it to his head, fuses it into the Fenrak. But the Mask of Life really hates Vizon. It's completely despised by him, but it only took him because it needed a new protector. And that forever and a half ago, it had been calling out for a new protector. And back when the Anika were Matoran traveling through that darkness corridor to go to Karzani, where Matoro felt someone grab his hand, and he grabbed it, but he didn't know who it was, and when they exited, there was nobody there. That was the Mask of Life reaching out across time and space to try and find a new guardian, and had selected Matoro, since Matoro grabbed him with his willingness to help a complete stranger. And the mask wanted Matoro, the Toa Life, to wear the Mask of Life as if it was destined for him. And Kongu sees it and is like, oh my god, that's crazy! But in doing this, because he had invaded the Mask of Life, which was fused to Vizon's head, he had also invaded Vizon's mind, which now Vizon knew all this information too. And it was like, no, it's not fair. It's not fair. I'm the protector here. I'm the god. Why does the Mask of Life hate me? I was the one who's protecting it. I did everything right. I didn't let anyone come here and get it. And he's freaking out and going crazy. And that's when Huki takes the shot and just gets him. And Cardus and Vizon just freeze in time and space. They're just frozen, solid, in just like space-time. They're like, all right, guys, we don't have long. We need to go up there, get the mask. And as they're running up there, Jala goes about to, go grab the mask, and Kongu's like, maybe Matoro should grab it. And they're like, any reason in particular, Kongu? He's like, no reason at all. I just think Matoro should grab it. And they're like, Matoro's like, it doesn't really make any difference who does, but okay. Matoro goes to Vizon and grabs the Mask of Life and pulls it off surprisingly easily. So he has the Mask of Life. Hooray! The Anika have the Mask of Life. At the same time, Cardus, or the Paraka, all start to rouse themselves. And they're like, all right, let's do this. We're going to get into a fight. So the Toa Anika are like, God, not again. All right, here we go. So the Toa Anika get ready to go and fight with the Paraka, but Cardus and Vizon suddenly unfreeze and lets out an energy blast, and the energy blast hits Matoro, and he drops the Mask of Life. The Mask of Life then starts flying out of the room, almost like it's being propelled, and it's just zooming through the corridor. They're like, oh my god, we gotta go catch that thing. So all the Toa Anika start trying to run past the Paraka. The Paraka try to stop them. Nuparu goes, they all start finding a way to try and fight around the Paraka, and Nuparu goes and flies through Zaktan, spins into a tornado, and dives into a pool of just water, and just like, because he's like, you can't beat me, and Nuparu's like, okay, I'll just drown you then. And the Toa Anika they've defeated the Paraka, they're sprinting out of the room. Holly is at the forefront, she's chasing this mask up, out of the Chamber of Life, out of the Chamber of Death. Back onto the island of Voya Nui, out of the jungle, towards the shoreline, and the mask suddenly goes straight down into the water. Holly dives down into the water. Motoro uses his Kenobi Eden to turn into an astral projection ghost version of himself and follows down with her. They're diving. Holly is struggling to get any breath in. She's like, man, it sure would be great to have a massive water breathing right now. Like, I don't know, cow. She's diving, and all of a sudden she's like, if I black out here, I black out for real. And all of a sudden she's out. She's drowning, and Motoro just zooms back up and comes back to life. He's like, oh my god, Holly is drowning. Guys, what do we do? It's like, one of us has to go try and dive in for her. Well, who can we do this? All of a sudden, Holly breaches the surface. And with her is another Matoran who dragged her up to the surface. And he is gasping and dying. And they're like, well, who are you? And he goes, city beneath the waves. Save us or we're all doomed. And the Matoran fucking dies. Right there. And they're like, what? City beneath the waves? What does that even mean? So they take Holly, they take the Matoran, they take him back to shore. And they resuscitate Holly, who gets back up, and she's told all of the events of what has happened here. And she's like, all right, it sounds like we've got something else to do. As this is happening, the Voyanui Matoran Resistance, because we haven't seen them in a minute, what have they been doing? Well, they got up with their buddies with Axon, and stormed the Bohrok-Kal stronghold, and they went to go and find where the Toa Nuva were. And they eventually found them, where all the Toa Nuva were mind-controlled, they had no masks, and they were all just pooling their elemental energies from their bodies into like this giant vase in the middle of the room. And it's like they were just pouring out, and they're like, well, they probably all got hit by Zamor spheres. Somebody probably told them to empty out all their elemental energies until they died. And that's what they've been doing. So like, boom, they got them all down with energized protodermis Zamor launchers. And the Toa Nuva get up weakly and are like, oh my god, thank you. God, that was awful. And they're giving back their masks and weapons, and they make their way down just in time, followed by Axon and Botar, who's carrying Brutaka. And Botar is like, hey, I'm gonna be right back, and blips out of existence for a second, and then comes back. And so the Toa and Nika are standing on the beach, they're trying to figure out what to do, and in the distance over there comes the Toa Nuva, start walking up to them. They've been talking to Axon and Botar, and they start walking up to the Anika, and the Anika are like, all right, guys, so we found out the Mask of Life went underwater. It seems like we're all going to have to go on this. And the Toa Nuva are like, Tahu kind of looks at the other Toa Nuva for a second and goes, you know what? You guys, you're right. We do have to do this, but not us. You guys actually did a really good job. I mean, we showed up on this island, we got captured, defeated immediately, but you six found your way onto the island somehow by yourselves. Defeated all the Mask's guardians, and were able to free the Matoran, and you've done so much. Maybe this is your destiny to go and get it. And Holly's like, oh no, I thought this was your destiny. And Kopaka Nuba chimes in. He's like, no, our destiny is to reawaken Motunui. Your destiny is to go and get the Mask of Life. So get on it. And they all kind of like share their farewells as the Toa and Nika set to ready themselves to go follow the Kenobi Ignika. Yes.
So I remember, because there were so many different events back at the beginning where they originally all had to get different colored masks of the other Toa
yes.
Mata. But if I remember correctly, the Toa Nuva can just share their mask abilities now?
So the Nuva masks allow you to share their abilities.
So they're the ones that can breathe underwater, and they're saying, nah.
Correct. And they also have each of the other Nuva masks.
But I'm using water.
Yes, okay. So Jala accepts it, and he goes, head of top Bohrok guard, Toa Jala. He's like, you accept your duty. Jala's like, hell yeah. So they prepare them. Meanwhile, the Toa Nuva walk back to Axon and Botar, and Axon's like, do you really think they'll succeed? And Tahu's like, I think they'll be lucky if they make it back alive. But where we're going and the mission that we're about to have to set on, they cannot follow us. Because now the Toa Nuva have been given a mission by Botar and Axon on behalf of the Order of Motunui. So that is the end of Book 5, Inferno, and that will be the end of the 2006 story year. Hooray! Another year gone. Which will lead us into 2007, which takes on a whole nother... This is also where we'll find out that the saga that just happened beforehand, and the one that will go on for the next little bit, will be known as the Ignition Trilogy. consisting of the Toa Nika, the Toa Mari, which we're about to get to, and later on will be Cardanui, and everything that happens on in there. And so we get to at the beginning of Book 6, City of the Lost, which takes place 80,000 years ago. And 80,000 years ago, there's this strong, imposing white figure who has this giant army around him as he's overlooking his citadel. And across the way, they see, there's other, 5 other massive armies, all just sitting in the citadel, lying with, and they're getting ready to go to war. And he sees there's a little few skirmishes here and there, and he's like, good. It'll keep the soldiers, between different armies. He's like, good. It'll keep the soldiers on their toes and, their blades sharp and all that. And he notices over there in the corner that in one battalion of 50, and their soldiers are all varied. Some of them are Matoran, some of them are, Skakti or Vortexes, or all different races, across the entire realm. Some of them are Rahi, dark. This is before Dark Hunters, but all these different types and sorts here. It didn't really seem like there was any direct rhyme or reason between any specific army. And he notices down in one of the battalions that there are, out of 50, 3 Matoran are just sitting around chit-chatting and talking and resting. And so he calls up the platoon leader, and he goes, yes, Master Prydak. And he goes, why are there 3 Matoran just standing there, just doing nothing, while everyone's standing at attention? We're right about to go to war. And the Matoran, platoon leader was like, oh no, I was like, I'll have them beaten immediately for this, sir. And Prydak goes, no, that won't do. There's 50 of you there, 3 of you slack off, and the other 47 say nothing. No, you're going to go down there, you're going to join your platoon, and you're going to announce to all the other battalions to immediately attack and annihilate you. And he's like, what? He's like, grabs the Matoran, throws him up against the wall, and is like, you heard me. You're going to go down there, and you're going to order your own death and destruction. At least that will be more quick and merciful than what I would give you. And so he drops the Matoran, and the freaking out because he knows that is true. Runs down there, goes to the battalion, makes the call, and announces to everyone to destroy their unit, which is promptly wiped from existence. Prydak is like, good, can't have any slackers. Immediately then, some of the other warlords he is standing with approach him and go, let's go inside, we need to start talking battle plans. Prydak follows them in there, and he's just looking upon all these creatures, and he's like, man, it must suck to be ugly. It must suck. He's like, oh, maybe that's why they would join us to go conquer stuff. He's like, they're just ugly. That's gotta suck so bad. Instead of being a beautiful, handsome perfection, the ideal being like me. Walks into the room with all these other warlords, and time check.
2.5 minutes.
Okay, cool. Walks in, and standing there is, a giant, armored fellow named Karpar. There is a guy in red. His name is Kalma. There is a green, ocean-looking dweller who's originally from the ocean, but he has an apparatus to allow him to be on land. His name is Elik. And there's another in big black armor named Mantax, and another thinner blue, schemy-looking guy named Taxox. And these are the 6 Bohrok-Kal warlords. They basically run the entirety of the Matoran universe. And they have gotten together and they have committed to going to war with the Brotherhood of Makuta for domination of the Matoran universe. They're going to destroy Montanui, they're going to destroy the Brotherhood of Makuta. They've made their plans ready when all of a sudden, on the horizon, they hear the sound of battle. They have no idea what's going on. Who found out? They look outside. Out of nowhere, the entire, just an army of Rakshi and various other creatures have appeared before their army and is just decimating the Bohrok-Kal's armies, who have had no chance to get mobilized and ready. And so immediately the Bohrok-Kal are freaking out. They're like, who, how did they find out? How did they find out? I was like, no time, let's go outside, because they're waving the banners of the Brotherhood of Makuta, and they're like, this is not going to go well. So we're going to take a quick break here, and we'll come back and talk more about that in a second. Alright, so we are back into Book City of the Lost. So as the all of a sudden the Brotherhood of Makuda's army just shows up out of nowhere, starts decimating these Bohrok-Kal warlords' armies, just destroying them, and it is not long until all 6 leaders of the Bohrok-Kal are in chains. All of their army's members are being rounded up that have surrendered by Rock-Shi and various other, armored suits of Exotoa, as Makuda makes his appearance and looks down at them and goes, all of you, I could have expected this from. And he points to Prydak and goes, but you, why you? Why would you do this? Prydak had previously worked as a soldier for the Brotherhood of Makuda. Makuda knew how, what a strong-willed character and just powerful, capable person Prydak was. And Prydak goes, it's past the time of Motunui. It is our time as Bohrok-Kal to rule and lead. That is why. I will not be relegated to the shadows. And Makuda goes, you won't have to be for much longer. And all the Bohrok-Kal know that they are going to be executed. There is no way out of this. Makuda is going to kill them. Meanwhile, their armies are being split up and sent off to different islands. They'll all be imprisoned or whatever. And as Makuda is getting ready to go and lop their heads off, Botar appears out of nowhere and just does a little finger waggle and grabs the Bohrok-Kal and goes, these guys are coming with me. And Makuda goes, who are you? Do you not know who I am? He's like, I care not for you, Makuda. I care not for who you are. I serve a greater purpose than you. And these 6 come with me. And Makuda goes, no, these warlords have betrayed the will of Motunui, and so they will be executed. And Botar says, nope, and teleports out of existence with all 6 Bohrok-Kal. Yes,
so is this before Makuda betrayed?
Yeah, this is 80,000 years ago.
Okay. So I know where in the timeline did Makuda formally...
Right here. Because Makuda looked at those 6 Bohrok-Kal and looked and thought about it, and he was like, these 6 insignificant, lesser beings really believe that they could take over the universe, that they had what it took to be able to lead these pathetic beings that don't even come near close to my greatness? No way. But me, perhaps, I could do it. And this was the inception of Makuda in what would be his his betrayal of Motunui, and his plans and schemes that would lead and follow after it. So now we jump back to the present. Book 6 is really weird because it does not focus on the Toa at all. It's really just kind of sets the stage for the new area we're in, where deep down under the ocean, is a Matoran just running through some airweed fields, and he has this little hydruka, which is like this little quadrupedal I'm trying to think of how I'd even describe it. It almost kind of looks like an undersea scorpion with the head of a Rock-Shi, and apparently so this Matoran is out there. He's got like this air bubble around him, so he's able to breathe underwater, and he's going around, and they're called hydruka is what he's with, and they have the innate ability to sense in the fields of airweed where they can harvest air bubbles from. Since they live underwater, they're going to have to harvest air to be able to continue to breathe underwater. And as he looks around, he's like, this is the safe hour. It's the 1 hour out of the day where none of the different, monsters living under the ocean and everything, they all kind of just disappear for a bit. It's 1 hour of peace where they can go out into the fields, harvest some air, and go back to what is this giant city underneath the ocean that is domed over by this giant bubble of air. This is the city of Mari Nui. And this Matoran is looking around and hears like a clink and a clack off the side of like a little, what would be the word from it, I guess. A little bit deeper down onto the side from where he's standing, and he's like, oh, the stories, Matoran go missing all the time, trying to see what's in the black water. And he goes and looks for a second, and he doesn't see anything, and then he looks back and realizes that the safe hour has passed. Fish are starting to come in, and all of a sudden a tentacle wraps around his waist and drags him down into the depths, never to be seen again. And we move to Defilak, who is a lay Matoran who's been living under the ocean in the city of Mari Nui for as long as he or any of the other Matoran who are living there can remember. They have no Toa, they have no Turaga, they have just been underwater here for as long as anyone can remember. Nobody knows how they got there originally, nobody knows if there's anything else out there in the world or anything. It's just, it's crazy. So he's moving on to what is effectively the town hall because the Matoran have a council of Matoran and a rotating leadership. And this month it was his turn to be the leader. So he makes his way into this auditorium filled with other Matoran, and Defilek is just not really a leader by any means or merit, but he has been chosen for it, so he's going to do his duty. So he gets up there and he goes, I call to order this meeting of the Council of the Matoran of Mari Nui. Are there any plans we should do? And one of the Matoran comes up and goes, yeah, what are we doing to make the airweed field safer for Matoran? We had 3 Matoran go missing this week. What are we doing to make those safer? And Defilek's like, no, we'll need to figure out a way, set up some more turrets around and figure out something there. And he goes, any calls for new matters for being? Defilek goes, I call for an exploration of the Blackwater. And everyone is like shocked forward. They're like, oh, he said the thing. And they're like, well, you can't mean that. He's a Matoran go missing down there. Anyone who's ever gone into the Blackwater has never returned. And Defilek is like, I have a device and a machine that will allow us to transcend down into the Blackwaters to explore further. There's something down there, but none of us have ever actually seen what's actually out there in the water stalking and hunting us. We have no idea what our enemy even is. How can we continue to fight against it if we don't know what we're up against? And so he's like, are there any volunteers? Defilek's friend Gar is like, I volunteer. Gar is an Unimatoran. And then a Tomatoran named Sarda and a Gamatoran named Idris also volunteered. So they all get together after this meeting, and they all start. Defilek starts showing them this weird machine that he's made from parts and pieces. That they're like, wow, this is really crazy. Like, this is pretty cool. He's like, where did you find this thing? I didn't know there were any vehicles. He's like, nope, there were no vehicles here underwater. I made it out of parts and pieces that were brought from the Great Gifting, because about the same time every month, gifts from the surface started falling down, random bits of treasure or masks or tools or whatever, because long ago, Mari Nui was part of Voya Nui. It was one of the little tiny tips of Voya Nui. And eventually over time, so Mari Nui was originally part of a much larger continent. After the Great Cataclysm, Mari Nui shot up through the air, up into the water, into the surface above. And Mari Nui was, what would become Mari Nui was a tip of this here, and about 200-300 years ago, it suddenly crumbled and sank into the ocean, because Mari Nui was a settlement built on what was the cooled lava flows from Mount Volmai. And eventually it just fell and sank beneath the waves, never to be seen again after an earthquake. And so even to this day, the Matoran of Voya Nui will every month go and throw a bunch of things down to commemorate all the Matoran they lost during that event. But the Matoran in Voya Nui have no recollection of this. Their PTSD for the event is so strong, it completely just wiped from their existence. Collectively, none of them remember. Like, every once in a while, some of them will get little weird kind of recollections and visions of things they were told or some previous life. Nobody can really piece a lot together. So they're all kind of just doing their thing under the sea. And so they're like, oh, cool, this is a really cool machine, so has anyone ever tried it? And Defilek's like, nope, nobody's tried it yet. And they're like, how do you know this thing will work? And he's like, oh, we don't. But we're going to go and try. And all the other Matoran are like, well, we signed up for it. So the Matoran all gather into this vehicle and proceed to leave Mari Nui and descend down into the Blackwaters. Meanwhile, down in the Blackwaters are 6 beings of power, formerly known as warlords, conquerors. They were the Bohrok-Kal, until one day they were defeated by the forces of the Brotherhood of Makuta and suddenly teleported away by an enigmatic figure named Botar into a horrible, terrible jail known only as the Pit, where they were held captive for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, until one day a great earthquake struck the land, the jail broke apart, and all the inmates ran loose, killed the jailer Hydraxon, and they escaped into the waters, not knowing that the water had mutagenic properties, and it slowly transformed all of them. They are, in sequence of everybody, the leader, who has now been morphed into a more like a shark being, Prydak, who commands an army of Takea sharks. You have Taxodox, who mostly just controls another one of the Bohrok-Kal. He has hypnotic eyes. You have Karapar, the big old crab boy, and he controls a bunch of crabs, Karis crabs. Crab boy, and he, yeah, pretty much crab wave. Yeah. He mostly just keeps getting mind controlled by Taxodox, who uses him as a loyal servant for the most part, but kind of snaps out of it every once in a while.
Well, are you saying that there's mind control in your mind control?
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. That's how deep Taxodox's mind control gets. There is Kalma, who is like a squid, who's been morphed into a squid guy. He has 3 eyes, but only 2 of them work. One of them he lost in a fight with Prydak. He controls an army of sea squids, as well as he's responsible for creating or breeding the vampiric sea squids that they use on their launchers. They can shoot at targets that will drain the life out of them. Because
he shoots squids.
Yes, he has like a squid.
I have
like
some
it's like a slingshot that shoots squids.
I have some on mine.
Yes.
Demonstrate.
Wait, grab this one here. So this is like objectively, I think, the worst launcher that they ever came up with. It's so awful.
It's even designed where you can take it off of them and put like your finger through the loop.
Yeah, it's whatever. But anyway, huh? Let's see. So you take it, you just see, it didn't even do that.
You gotta really pull back.
Yeah, it's like, God.
Under the sea.
No, it just does not want to fire. It's like, no. One more time. We'll give it one more try. Because this thing is a monstrosity. Nope, just doesn't want to fire. This is a horrible, terrible launcher. I don't know what LEGO was thinking when they made it.
Is this the new collectible? Is the launcher?
It's the new reloadable thing. You can get here, Jason. You can try and mess with it. But yeah, Kalma does that. He is responsible for breeding these vampiric sea squids they found underneath the waters, which is actually really strange to the Bohrok-Kal because it is a completely organic being. There's no biomechanical. They've never seen anything like it. You see what I mean? It just keeps getting stuck on.
I did it. I think this launcher sucks.
I think that.
Because I did it earlier with my.
Oh, there we go. It did the thing.
Wow.
Wow.
So innovative.
So innovative.
Cool.
It's so much better than the Zamor spheres they came up with last time that fire really effectively, which I didn't shoot at anyone because they actually shoot really hard. Because they're hard plastic balls and they
Well,
are
way
have a
better
mind
than
control
gears.
Yeah.
Swing.
better than, way better than, Kanoka discs, which have like a 50% chance of...
Or what spinners?
Rotuka spinners.
Rotuka
Or the
spinners.
yeet discs. But anyway, so then you have Elik, who is already a native to the oceans in general, who is a electric eel dude. He commands an army of venom eels, which are basically just like poisonous electric eels that will melt you. And then there's Mantax, who has been morphed into a manta ray type figure guy with a powerful claw. And he controls manta rays, some kind of rays. Anyway, they've long been in this deep. Yes, Jason.
So the only one of those 6 that doesn't individually control an army is the blue one, and the blue one controls the crab and his army.
Okay, so Taxodox doesn't control any specific army by nature of them being the same. He can just hypnotize other things to make them his minions in general, but he mostly chooses to just use Karapar to do all his dirty work for him.
Is there a reason, or did it learn?
Taxodox is just lazy. He just schemes a lot, and he's like, I don't want to leave my cave.
No, is there a reason that he chooses the crab one?
He's stupid. He's
Is he able at all to control the others? And their armies?
Okay, he would not like to try to. Because Prydak is very on edge all the time and will slash your throat, has no issues. Easy peasy. Elik has a lot of electricity powers underwater. It's not great for everybody else. And Mantax is really good at hiding and stuff. He's got power. He's Taxodox is also the thinnest of all the Bohrok-Kal, and the least likely because Carver has giant claws. Mantax has some really poisonous giant claws. Taxodox has giant teeth and saw blades on his arms. It's like it's just not a good thing. Kalma is stupid enough, or not Kalma, Karapar, that he can just kind of like, ooh, look into my eyes, and he's like, what eyes? And he's like, oh, and then he gets mind done there. Anyway, they're sitting under the ocean, and they're just looking at the turn of events, and they feel that there's a shift in the waters coming. And Predak swims out, and all of a sudden, back towards the island of Mari Nui, there is a Matoran named, I have to look back here, Kyrex? Yeah, Kyrex. But Kyrex is a Gamatoran, I believe, and she's, going through the airfields and all this stuff, and all of a sudden, a shiny golden mask starts falling through the waters and lands in her hands. When she sees it, she's like, wow, this is a great Kenobi mask. But she looks at it and she's like, I can tell just by looking at this thing is ancient. I've never seen anything like this before. This is crazy. But, gifting day or whatever, it was like a week ago. Why would this come now? Well, maybe I should take it back to some of the smarter people back in town. Carrick starts trying to take it back, the mask of life back into Mari Nui. As she does this, all of a sudden the seaweed around her starts coming to life and trying to grab her, and it's chasing her, and she's running back into town. Everywhere she goes, like vines. Yes, Jason.
So she has a mask of life, and it's not like fucked her up.
It's not fucked her up yet, but it's bringing a bunch of inanimate stuff around her to life and it's trying to grab her. Mm-hmm. So it is doing this, and she runs into a Pomatoran named Dekar, who is also in the airfield. He is a hunter, and he sees this happening, grabs her hand, and pulls her back in there, and they're like, oh man, what's going on? He's like, yeah, I don't know. All of a sudden that there was these vines everywhere, and they look back, and everything is back the way it was originally. There's no crazy seaweed, just sky high, it's just all regular. And they go, wow, it must have been something some weird mutation going on. And Dekar's like, and Kyrix is like, yeah, must have been something like that. Anyway, and so Dekar's like, so what's going on? Why are we out there? Kyrix goes, oh, I found this mask. And Dekar is like, a great Kenobi mask. Like, we don't have any use for this. We're not Toa. Even then, we carry a few masks around if we need to have a broken one in place. We don't have any one of these. And Kyrix is like, I think this has something to do with what was going on with the vines and stuff. And, I was going to try and bring it to, some of the teachers and see if they knew anything about this. Dekar is like, okay, well, go ahead and, and Kyrix is like, you know what, better idea. Why don't you take the mask? Why don't you do it for me? Why don't you take the mask and then you can do it? And pushes the mask into Dekar's hands. And Dekar is like, whoa, this is your thing. And Kyrix is already like, bye, I'm not my problem anymore, bye. He's running off. So Dekar is like, fine, all right, well, I'll take this. But before then, I got some time. I need to go hunting. So Dekar goes into the airweed fields, and he sees this giant venom eel coming towards Mari Nui. He's like, all right, venom eel, that's an issue. Those things are dangerous. He grabs a spear, and he's floating over towards it. And as he gets closer, the venom eel starts to get more and more agitated, and it starts coming closer. He's like, it's getting closer and closer. We can't let it get too close. I'm going to have to kill it. So he goes out and, boom, thrusts his spear and mortally wounds the venom eel. And then it just backs off a bit, and then it gets right back up. And it's floating in the water, and it comes back to life. And he's like, what's going on? So it stabs it. He's like stabbing it 4, 5, 6 times fatally, and its wounds just keep healing up. And it keeps coming back at him. It's becoming more agitated. He's like, this is the work of this mask, isn't it? There must be something with this mask. Meanwhile, deep down below, Defilak, Sarda, Idris, and Gar are in their little submarine, going down, deeper into the depths of the black water. And finally, they go deep enough that they see, in the distance, a figure that resembles a white Toa, but strangely does not. And recognize that he has like shark-like features, and recognize that there is a army of Takea sharks all surrounding the vehicle. And they're like, oh no, this is not good. We gotta get out of here. So they immediately start going up, just trying to surface back up. And the Takea sharks start battering into the vehicle, start bashing it, battering it, and literally tearing chunks of this metal vehicle apart. Until finally they all just go, all right, everybody, get out of the vehicle, swim as fast as you can. Defilak is like, I'll try and hold them off. Because what they have for their defense is, it's like the same thing. It's the same launchers like the Zamor launchers were, but instead of it, it's like solidified air that because these are creatures of the sea, if they get hit by something that's just straight oxygen, it's like poisonous to them. So he grabs them and he starts shooting them at the Takeda Sharks, but no, it doesn't matter. Like Prydak comes up, grabs all the Matoran, and brings them to a cave. When outside of the cave is all the Takeda Sharks. Now the Matoran are surrounded by their personal air bubbles that allow them to continue to breathe. Prydak comes and goes, all right, Matoran. Because as this has been happening, after Kyrix found the Mask of Life, a squid passed by, saw the Mask of Life, went to Kalma, told Kalma that there was a great glowing Kanohi mask that seemed to have weird properties, and Kalma was like, must be the Mask of Life. Kalma went and told Mantax and Karakar about it, which then they sent Kalma to go and collect Mantax, as well as to tell, which one of the Takeda Sharks saw it as well, and told Prydak that there was a Mask of Life. Now there's this cave, all these Matoran, Prydak's there, and he goes, alright guys, we don't have to do this the hard way. So just tell me, where is the Mask of Life? Where do you have it? Yes.
How do they know it's the Mask of Life?
The Bohrok-Kal have existed for long enough that they are aware of what the Mask of Life should look like, or what powers it should have. Because the Bohrok-Kal originally, so going back a little bit, the Bohrok-Kal originally were designated rulers across the entirety of the Matoran universe, of several different areas and regions and lands. They were all in charge of that. They were appointed by the Brotherhood of Makuta to be in charge of those lands. So they've been around and they've been in on some inside knowledge for forever and a half, until they decided that they were going to try and betray the Brotherhood of Makuta and betray Motunui and take over. So the Matoran are just sitting there like, what are you talking about, masks? We don't have any great Kanohi masks. Every once in a while we only have some masks in case one of ours breaks, and we have another one, and Prydak goes, okay, and grabs Sarda and just throws him out into the ocean out of the cave. He's like, all right, that was one. You gonna start telling me where the mask is? And Defalak is like, fine, I'll tell you, I'll show you. Just don't hurt anymore. And Prydak goes, good, sounds good. So he grabs Defalak and they start surfacing back up, and they're gonna be headed back to Motunui. As all of this is happening, Dekar is, he's been fighting this venom eel, and it gets away. And he goes, this mask is something interesting, but it seems like it's too powerful and it's only just going to bring more issues. I should destroy this mask. Dekar starts swimming out into the waters, and Mantax and Kalma see where he is going. And they see that he has the mask, so they start pursuing him. Dekar sees them behind him and starts swimming faster, is hiding in a cave, and the Bohrok-Kal are obviously hunting after him. And he goes, all right, I'm going to destroy this mask. Grabs a rock, but before he does, he picks up the Mask of Life one more time and boom, starts having these visions and everything, and basically gets retold the entirety of the Mask of Life's existence. And it's shown where long, 100,000 years ago, the great beings cast him in a forge, and it was too powerful, and one of the great beings touched the mask, and the mask gave him this ability, which became his curse, which was all sorts of inanimate objects around him began coming to life. And it was so terrible that the other great beings imprisoned him, and he went insane because he kept bringing things to life against his will. After that, the great beings treated the Mask of Life with greater respect and sealed it away and brought it down to the Chamber of Life, where it would be waited there for the appointed day and the destined time when it would need to be worn. And several times before then, there had been other beings and creatures that had come and tried to take the Mask of Life, and the Mask of Life had destroyed them, or had the Guardians destroyed them, or turned them into Guardians, and eventually a team of Toa did make their way through and grab the Mask of Life, and one of them did wear it, which was needed to heal Motunui, who had been injured and wounded before and needed to be resurrected, but at the cost of that Toa's life. All the other Toa then became Turaga when they brought the Mask of Life back, and one of those Turaga stayed on the island. He was known as Toa Jovan, or Turaga Jovan, who's a Toa of magnetism. There is a combiner set where you can put together, I think it's Toa Naika Huki and Nuparu. I think those are the only 2 you need. You might need one more. I think. Yeah. Yes, Chris.
Excuse me, I didn't ask you if they made a toy about it yet. You're not allowed to just go into there's a combiner set until I ask the question.
Okay. Well.
Did they make a toy?
Yes, they sure did, Chris. It's actually a combiner model made out of Toa Naika Nuparu and I believe Toa Naika Huki, which it really just looks like, because he also wore a great Kadeen Master Flight, and it really just mostly looks like Toa Naika Nuparu with some chains around him and some other metal-looking bits, but other than that. Anyway, he became Turaga, and he became the Turaga of Voya Nui, and when Mari Nui sank beneath the waves, he died in that, I'm sorry. He died during the Great Cataclysm when Voya Nui shot up through the surface and away from the original continent it was on. And so, what was I going to say? And so he's seeing all this, and then he saw about the whole thing with Vizon and Benrak and Matoro and all this stuff and how it landed here and that it was going to need. So Mantax and Kalma show up and they're like, all right, Matoran, give it to us. And Dekar's like, stay back or I'll break it. And they go, come on, kid, you're not going to do that. And he goes to smash a rock onto the Mask of Life, and all of a sudden, boom, this giant energy surge, boom, shoots out through the ocean. Everyone's really confused what's going on. And Prydak can sense something has gone on. Every being in the ocean can feel something wrong has gone on. And all of a sudden, a 300-foot venom eel has just been brought into existence. The Mask of Life has created a new protector, a 300-foot venom eel, and it's just like, what is going on? What is that bright, pretty, light, shiny bubble place over there? Smells like food. I'm going to go that way. Meanwhile, Eelik, because he had one of his eels being fought by something, has gone to go and attack Mari Nui with his gang of eels. Mantax has been sent to go and stop him. So Mantax grabs Eelik around the waist, Karapar. My apologies. Karapar goes and grabs him around the waist and goes, hey, Eelik, stop it. Because Taxox had figured out that Eelik was going to go and fight stuff and ruin everything for everybody. So Eelik is like, what are you doing? I've done nothing to you. I haven't done anything. Why are you doing this to me? And Karapar is like, hey, listen, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to stop fighting. And he's like, look, they tried to fight one of my eels. I'm going to fight all of them. He's like, and Mantax goes, well, Taxox says that's bad. So I'm going to listen to what he says on this. You know, there's word that there's some Mask of Life, and Eelik is like, wait, Mask of Life, what? And they said, yes, that might be our ticket out of here. That might be all of our ticket out of here. So we need to go meet up with Prydak and figure out what's going on. So Eelik leads his armies with Mantax to go see Prydak. At this time, Mantax Kalma awaken, or no, they don't. They are just there, still in the cave. And Prydak sees this happen, and all of a sudden this giant venom eel starts coming towards Mari Nui, and Devilak just makes a run for it. He insults Prydak a little bit and expects to get killed, but Prydak is just like, you're funny, kid. Devilak swims away. Idris and Gar, who are still in the cave from before, there's two Matoran.
Idris Elba?
No, Idris Gamatoran.
Okay, cool.
They
low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, pretty real. They had decided to swim up out of the cave and try to escape, but they were running out of breath. And Devilak shows up and grabs them and brings back to the airweed fields. We're like, well, we thought you were dead. And he's like, yeah, I would have been, but we got this giant 300-foot of venom eel coming at us. What do we do? And Devilak goes, it's attracted to light and movement, so get everybody to get into their houses and smash every light stone you can find. So they go through the city, smashing every light stone, like getting rid of any light or movement, and people will start. And then the venom eel is like, I can't see anything. What's going on? Yes, Jason.
Why not just like cover them up?
You can't cover. The city is covered in a giant literal bubble.
No, I mean like, why can't you, instead of destroying your sources of light?
Presumably they don't have enough things to cover them with. I presume cloth isn't a thing they really have access to, except for Vizon with his $20.
Well, then they don't have like a box.
I have no idea. Look, I'm not.
I'm sorry, are you the Bionicle historian or the Bionicle not historian?
Oh my god. Listen, I only studied Voya Nui. I only studied Mari Nui for like one semester, and it was a really weird one at that. I just wasn't into the aquatic sea life.
We're taking our lessons from him?
Yeah.
Jeez.
But Mario doesn't matter anyway. It gets destroyed in the end.
Whoa!
Whoa! Big
Whoa!
Whoa! That's why I said it doesn't matter. But we'll get there. So.
Oh, wait, real quick.
Yes.
Did they make a choice of the eel?
They did not. Of the eel?
Of the eel.
No, they did not. Well, actually, no, they didn't. They did not make a choice of the eel. They did. I first mentioned before. All the sets that came out in 2006 with the Anika stuff. They made the Toa Anika, the Paraka, the Titans that year were Brutaka, Axon, Fenrak, and Vizon, and then you could combine them together and all that stuff were there. They also made some more Lego play sets like they had done with 2005 with the Hordika. Specifically like the Paraka Outpost, Battle for the Mask of Life, some other stuff here. And they did the same thing, once again, with the Toomari. They would do another set of Lego minifigs play sets. This would be the last year that they did this, for 2007, for Mari Nui. Anyway, so they did not make one of the eel. And the eel all of a sudden can't see anything, and has decided that it senses that there is a stone cord that connects to the top of a mountain where Mari Nui is situated on, and connects up to some giant landmass above. But he senses there's movement and light in this giant stone-like cord. And the eel decides, I'm going to go get that. And swims around and just starts wrapping itself around this cord. And that is the end of Book 6. Technically, there's, I think, some other thing there where... that's where it is, where Deckard still has Mask in his hands. And he's like, okay, I'm going to destroy it for real this time. About to throw a rock on it, and all of a sudden, giant, mega, ultra, super bright light, just blinding, and every denizen of the ocean in Mari Nui could see the light, even if they put their hands over their eyes. Even if they close their eyes, they could still see the light shining through it. Yes?
So is all this happening after, the mask fell into the water? Or,
yes. The mask has fallen into the water. The Toa Anika and the all that are still on land for the most part of this.
What's her face? Dove in?
Yeah, she dove in. The mask still fell down and landed in Mari Nui, and that's where it is now. Well, now it's in the hands of Deckard. Deckard who is trying to smash it, but bright lights, can't see it, so he can't smash it. Alright, so that's the end of Book 6, City of the Lost, and will lead us to Book 7, Prisoners of the Pit. This is where it starts off. The beginning of it starts by telling us basically there was a powerful evil existence, blah blah blah, and it was a Makuta, and it had foreseen and schemed and all these things, and basically you learned that Makuta had let himself be defeated by Takanuva, knowing that even if Takanuva defeated him there, it was his plan to get the Toa out back to Metro Nui because Makuta wanted the Mask of Life and allowed himself to be defeated. In doing so, he had no corporeal form really anymore and only existed as this nebulous gas because at some point, Makuta had no longer been had a physical form and evolved into a state of pure energy, and that was what was inhabiting his armor or whatever. And apparently, yes, Jason.
You had the first time they fought him, you had said that he is nothingness.
Yes.
Is that what?
That is just what he says he is.
Oh, okay.
He was just being bad guy.
Okay.
But Makuta is actually his original form at this point has evolved into a state of just pure energy, and he inhabited his armor in that form. The armor was designed so that he could use it as just being a pure energy. When his armor was destroyed, he suddenly found the issue that, I can't really, if I don't have an armor or something to reside in a few days, I'm going to die. And that was when he reached out telepathically and influenced 6 Skak D Dark Hunters to come to the island of Matanui in search of an enigmatic Mask of Life that they had never heard of before. And they also allowed them to find this green liquid stuff that they would use to fill the Xamorters called antidermis that actually just is Makuta. Makuta is the antidermis, the green stuff that was able to shoot at the Matoran and stuff to take over their minds and stuff and put them under influence. That was Makuta. Makuta was just being injected everywhere, which means the green energy antidermis stuff that Burtako was drinking was just Makuta
The
juice.
second voice that you heard was
The second,
Makuta.
yes, exactly, the second voice they heard when Axon smashed the vat, it was Makuta in the vat screaming no as well.
Makuta is the essence of Kyle.
Yeah, it really is.
Does that mean that Makuda's just like on the floor now? Or?
So Makuta is spilled out on the floor and he exists as energy again, and he's trying to find a new way to exist again, and it's seen that, you know, because everything he's gone up to this point is, I have a contingency plan for this, a contingency plan for that, everything is fine, literally nothing worries me right now. The mask of light has gone under the ocean, no problem, easy peasy, this is all within my calculations, and has descended beneath the waves as well. Where he is hoping on he's counting on the Toa and Nika to retrieve the mask of life. He's counting on them to do this. And it leads us into the Toa and Nika basically go over onto the beach. Axon goes, all right, you guys are going to have to go down to get there. Here is a corridor right here in the sand. It just, boom, cracks open the earth, and there is like this underground corridor. And he goes, all right, you guys need to go down there. It's a straight shot down. It's dangerous down there, so be careful. And the Toa or Nika are like, all right, no problem, Bob. Descend down the cord. And they're running down these hallways, and all of a sudden there are these horrible monsters, these tridents, and like everything they zap at is just disintegrated. These are the Zyglak. Zyglak, well, I'll go over Zyglak later, what they are, and how they came to be. They're almost like proto-Matoran. We'll get into a lot of that later. But anyways, the Zyglak are fighting the Toa and Nika are fighting back. All of a sudden, they see this bright, bright light deep underneath the ocean, and they're like, oh man, what was that? And all of a sudden they feel like this, they feel and hear like the cord that they're in, it's just called the cord. The hull of it is cracking. And they're like, all right guys, we've got no other option. Break one of the windows, jump out. All the Toa and Nika swim out into the waters, and they see this like 300-foot venom eel in front of them, and they're like, what? How are we supposed to deal with this? And as they are out in the waters, it turns out the water is mutagenic, and they begin to transform. They've lost their weapons, and they don't really have anything to fight with, and so Jala is trying, so all of a sudden there's also this like squad of like little venom eels that come up, and Jala's trying to dodge them, but he can't. He's getting hit by them. Weird, his mask isn't working. His mask of rolling d20s just isn't working, but all of a sudden, as he uses his mask, he hears that there's, bounces off things or whatever. He now wears a mask of sonar. Meanwhile, Holly has been transformed and has like these proto-steel wings and is just gliding through the water, and she's having a blast, no problem. She uses her mask and is able to start punching the crap out of things, mysteriously. I'll get to explain what her mask is in a few. Kongu is like, hey, Kongu, see if you can control the eel or something. Also at the same time, Taxidox was like, I wonder, he's like, man, that eel's really big. I wonder if I can mind control it. And he tries to mind control the eel and gets swatted away. Kongu goes and tries to use his mask of telepathy, but unfortunately, a giant army of smaller venom eels come up. And he's like, oh man, what's that? Kongu now wears the mask of summoning. He can summon Rocky to his aid. He is now Aquaman. Even though he's not the God Matoran, he's become Aquaman. Yes, Gecko Force. And sends them directly at the giant eel, which the giant eel just opens its mouth and eats them. And was like, nice snack. And like, wow, crap. And they're like, hey, Matoro, see if you can...
It's always the bigger fish.
Matoro uses his mask and tries to see what it can do, or if anything, and all of a sudden this giant whale of a shark carcass starts floating up from the deeps and comes into like this weird state of undeath. Matoro wears the mask of reanimation and can resurrect dead beings.
There's always a bigger fish.
Always a bigger fish. And he has it start trying to bite and fight this eel. And he's using his ice powers to try and freeze parts of the eel. And the eel's just getting all irritated by everything and smacking everything away. Like, what are we going to do? Holly turns to them and goes, do we have anything we can fight this thing with? And then looks back at the eel, and suddenly just sinking. And they look over at Hookie, who's just like, haha, it makes sense. Finally, toe of a stone should be able to make something sink like a rock. Huki wears the Kanohi, I believe it's Garai, I believe it is. It is the mask of gravity. So now he can control other beings' gravity. So they all descend down onto a surface they can walk on. And they look over at Nuparu, who is wearing, from what other tales had been described as the mask that Toa Nadiki had once worn, the mask of stealth, which fundamentally, unlike the Kanohi Huna, the mask of invisibility, it makes your movements silent. It basically just puts you on mute for everybody else, but does not, I believe, visibly hide you. And so as they see this giant bubble city, they're like, well, maybe we can go over there. So they start walking over that way. And the Matoran on the defenses are on turrets and start shooting them with like air bullets. And the Toa are just, trying to dodge them and knock them away. Like, whoa, what's going on here? And the Matoran are like, this is no place for you, prisoners of the pit. You don't belong here. We don't trust you or any of the Bohrok-Kal or any of your kind. And the Toa and Ica are like, whoa, we're not Bohrok-Kal. We're just regular, we're Toa and Ica. And they're like, yeah, sure you are. And they're like, we just had, several, of our Matoran go missing, and the Bohrok-Kal have come up and done this stuff. Also, as a side note, when the Toa were fighting the Venomil, they tried using some of their abilities. Jala can only make small flames underwater now because it's hard to make fire exist underwater. But also, they noticed is that all of the lightning powers that had previously accentuated their attacks and abilities and stuff is no longer there. They no longer have the chain lightning class. They spec'd out of it.
Boo.
Yeah. But for reference, this is Toa, what will be Toa Mari Matoro, Toa Mari Jala Huki, who he is supposed to have chains on him because he remains Changang.
He's also badass as fuck.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Like
He's got a war spear. But the person I bought him from, they neglected to give me chain pieces, so he is on Changang, what's the word? Probation. So hopefully he'll be back with some chains. And they can be part of Changang again. Toa Mari Holly is right here. And broken. Because it's the curse of the lime green joints.
Yes, the next book in Bionicles.
Dude, it's really bad. Anyway, so the Matoran is like, all right. So Matoro goes up to this Matoran and goes, hey, look, I'm really sorry about anything that's happened to you guys. We're here on a mission. We're just seeing if maybe you guys can help us out. And the Matoran kind of call a ceasefire and go, all right, if that's the case, only one of you can come in the city. The rest of you go out into the airweed field and fight off the sea rahi that are all in there. Like, they've been infested with terrorist crabs and stuff. We can't go out there and harvest air until they're gone. So Matoro goes into the city of Marinui. The other Toa go out into the airweed fields. Yes, Jason?
Did you say that Matoro was the one that can control the Rocky?
No, Matoro can control dead things.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Kongu, which I don't have. I don't have Kongu, I don't have Matoro. Kongu can summon Rocky to his aid. So, all of a sudden, they're walking the airfield, and all of a sudden, there's crabs. There's a whole lot of crabs. Way too many crabs, and suddenly a bunch of manta rays. More venom eels. Takeda sharks show up, and they're like, oh, hey, Holly, you're the one that's from the ocean stuff, right? Is this normal for ocean rahi? And she's like, no, this is very not normal. And all of a sudden, 6 figures appear before them. You can almost see that they were like a Toa, like they almost kind of looked like Toa, and the one in white starts moving towards him. He seems very slim, like he has no arms, but it's very clearly soon they realize that he just has his arms behind the back. And he goes, all right, Toa, prisoners of the, condemned Toa, who are you? Why are you here? And, what is it, they go, condemned, prisoners, what are you talking about? They're like, we don't have any time for formalities, prisoners of the pit. Tell us why we're here. And Kongu starts to go, well, we're not, and Holly goes, holds out an arm and goes, we're not interested in wasting our time talking to Rocky breath that are beneath our feet. Who gives you the right to ask us these questions? And Kalma goes, the right to conquer that we have earned. Reaches out, grabs the tentacle. Holly grabs the tentacle and just, boom, pulls the tentacle down and throws Kalma down through the water until he smacks the ground. And they're like, everyone's just like, what was that? And Holly goes, so who do we have here before us, wasting our time? And Prydak goes, we are Bohrok-Kal. Surely you've heard of us in your legends, Toa. And Holly goes, ha, Bohrok-Kal. Yes, I'm familiar with your sorts. The type of fairy tale bedtime story that Turaga tell Matorn to keep them scared at night. A relic of a bygone era. And all the other Baraki are like, holy shit. They're like, is she really saying this? She's gonna get killed. And Prydak just kind of like chuckles a bit and smiles. He's like, mayhaps we were. But with this mask of life in here, in the ocean now, once we have it, our time is coming back. Come with us. We have much to discuss. And so the 6 Baraki go and they start leading the Toa Mari off. These Toa Nike at this time. And the Toa just follow them into the water. And Jala's like, hey, when did you become Holly the Barbarian? Like, what did you do? And she goes, isn't this cool? It's Kanohi Faxon. It's the mask of kindred. It allows her to use the abilities of any Rahi. And she's like, happens to be, I studied a whole lot of like undersea Rahi. And so I can just use any of their abilities, including like super strength, stuff like that. So Holly is immediately the most busted character in the water.
Oh, I thought she was just like nailing a bluff check.
Oh, she was nailing a bluff check, but she also had the mask to like back it up. But yeah, she has a wealth of experience and knowledge about undersea creatures, so she can use any of their abilities just on recalling them. Can swim and fly underwater with these water wings, is completely in her own element, is a Toa of water, underwater, the best Toa of water
I was gonna say, Toa of water? Busted? In the water?
Dude, it's super busted. So anyway, yes.
But okay, so they're like, okay, obviously bad guy. Here, come on, let's go chill for a second. Let's go to our lair deeper. And they're like, sure, yeah, that's
well. As far as the Baraki know, they are also condemned Toa who have been sentenced.
Holly just bluff checked.
Yeah. Holly convinced them that they were also bad guys or Toa that have been condemned for doing crimes and were sent to the pit as well.
I thought it was like intimidating, like fucking make a move.
Oh, there was that too. There was that too because Kalma.
Because if you're a Toa and you're being condemned to the pit, you're probably going to be intimidating.
Yeah.
Because you
probably did, but at the same time, the Baraki are like, don't even care. We'll break Toa over our legs. Like, it's no problem. Just bane them. Just bane them over their legs. Just like Beckman.
You merely adopted the water.
I
was born in it. Molded by it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Except for these lime green joints, which break very easily.
She is literally
by the time I saw lime green joints.
I'm so
strong. She's the most broken Toa.
She is
the most broken.
I mean, statistically, are the ones up here.
But I mean, like broken, like literally.
Yes, literally broken. So the Toa go off with the Baraki, and the Baraki have split them up into different caves in sets of 2 or 3 or whatever. And they're talking to the Baraki, and the Baraki are like, all right, well, we have other matters to attend to. Flash back a little bit, right before this, Mantax and Kalma had actually grabbed the Mask of Life from Dekar, who had basically passed out and been lost in this explosion of light. So they have the Mask of Life. Dekar is like fading in and out of existence. He's drifting down deeper, deeper, deeper into the black water. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna die. This is where it happens. This is where I die. I can't believe it. This is so crazy. And then he starts having these visions of his time as a jailer of the pit. This giant, powerful black and silver being that was a jailer known as Hydraxon that kept all the prisoners in their cells and was a powerful warrior. And he starts filled with others. And so the original jailer of the pit was named Hydraxon. He was an extremely powerful warrior who died when the Great Cataclysm happened. It broke the jail. The Baraki and some other inmates got out and killed Hydraxon. The Mask of Life has turned Dekar into Hydraxon and supplemented all of Dekar's previous memories with the memories of Hydraxon, except for the part where he died in the Great Cataclysm. So he now has the body of Hydraxon and believes he is Hydraxon and has the memories of Hydraxon, which is this big old dude right here, who is just like fitted to the teeth with weapons. He's got boomerang blades, throwing knives, boomerang shoulder things. He's got a Kordak blaster cannon here, and he's just a weapons master.
It doesn't work in the air. You have to use it underwater.
Oh, you can. It's just not really great.
But they're designed to use underwater.
Yeah, they're.
Can you use that in the bathtub? Is that like,
yeah. So they're not particularly great, but I shot 3 of them over there.
But yeah, no, they'll work.
But I fired it like 18 times.
Yeah, but they work like first try every time underwater.
It's crazy.
Let's all go in the bath right now. Test it out.
So if you had any question as to whether these versus Squid Launcher, these.
These are better than the squid launchers,
Objectively.
but I believe that the Xenomorph spears and launchers are still objectively better than.
Well, yeah, because you don't have to be in water to use.
Yes, and they work on a better
Efficient.
system than air power. So anyway,
Daniel,
yes.
did you actually use those in a bath as a kid growing up? I'm like, pew, pew, pew.
No, I think we like.
I
filled
took
them,
them out to the pool once.
Yeah, we took them out to the pool, or we had like little plastic tubs
Yeah,
and fill them with water.
show off.
Well, not all of us can be big brain bonk boys.
My cow actually has like residue on it because I once put it like in sand and wanted to pretend that I was discovering it.
Yes, it's a good meme.
And I'm pretty sure I just did that by the pool.
Yeah.
I just took dirt.
Yeah.
Because we live in Florida, the dirt is sand.
Yeah. So they make contact with the Bohrok-Kal, and all of a sudden the Bohrok-Kal just leave because the Bohrok-Kal meet up together, and they kind of like put like some animals or whatever they control in front of the caves, and like, hey Toa, just sit tight for a second. What we got there? Oh, I totally forgot. Back in City of the Lost, completely forgot this. At some point before the Venom Eel and everything showed up, Brutaka shows up deep down under the ocean, where Mantax and Kalma go and try to fight him, and Brutaka just BTFOs them. And he's like, get off of me, scum! You're from the pit. I'm from the Order of Montanui. And they're like, Order of Montanui, never heard of it. And he's like, yeah, well, I just beat you up, so you're gonna help me find this mask. You're gonna help me. Where am I? And they're like, you're deep below the ocean. The Mask of Life fallen. And Brutaka's like, then it must be fated. It must be destiny for the Mask of Life to come here where I can go get it. I'm fated to get the Mask of Life. Yes, Jason.
I thought he was in Botar's custody.
He was in Botar's custody. Botar is the delivery man for the pit. What Botar does is he just captures people who are unredeemable or considered to be really bad, and he teleports them to the pit, which is like this eternal hyper jail. Unfortunately, the pit is completely busted and broken right now, but Botar didn't really care about that and just dumped Brutaka off underwater.
Go into water so you don't cause any more trouble. Oh no.
So much of that talk of Axon saying, I'm going to free you one day, and Botar saying, you can try, proceeds to put him in a jail that is busted open.
And underwater.
Axon won't get in there.
Yeah, well, also, by this point, Brutaka started to become mutated by the water as well.
So can he breathe now?
He can breathe underwater. The water is mutagenic, and if you go into the black water, you will mutate to be able to breathe underwater. The Matoran living in Marinui and stuff, they literally have like a thin layer of a bubble surrounding them that they can breathe air. They cannot breathe water because they are in a part of the water that is not where like the black water is.
So what about all these ones that had to bail when they're trying to escape?
Oh yeah, they've all been mutated too. That's why all the Bohrok-Kal are mutated. Because it was down where the black water
I'm not talking about the Bohrok-Kal, I'm talking about the Matoran in the sub.
The Matoran in the sub,
They were being attacked by the Bohrok-Kal.
Yes, kind of. We'll get to there.
Okay.
So anyway, as they are doing this, the Bohrok-Kal all get together. They have the Mask of Life. They're like, all right, guys, we've got the Mask of Life. We need to figure out what to do about these Toa first or whatever. Oh, I'm sorry. Before this, they introduce Brutaka to all the other Bohrok-Kal, and Prydak goes in and tries to attack Brutaka, and Brutaka just energy blasts him out of his sword and just boom, just shoots Prydak across the water, and everyone's like, holy shit. So he tells them who he is and what his mission is and all this stuff, and they're like, cool, we'll join you for now to get this Mask of Life or whatever. And at some point, they go and find Dekar, and they're trying to convince him to give him the Mask of Life. And Brutaka's like, look, I'm a member of the Order of Montanui, Matoran, give me the Mask of Life, and I will whatever. And Dekar was like, no way, Jose, like, I've never heard of that. You're probably just making this up, whatever. And the Bohrok-Kal proceeded, after getting the mask from Dekar, to just have a giant squid wrap around Brutaka and send him down into the black water to drown. Yeah, so that's what happened there. Anyway, so the Toa are all sitting in the case, and they all start to break out. As this is going on, the Bohrok-Kal have met together, like, we have the Mask of Life, we need to figure out what's going on with these Toa and get rid of them first, but, how are we going to do this? And they all start kind of playing okay, well, who's going to betray each other over this mask? And they're like, who should hold on to it? Because Prydak is holding it, and he's like, holding it so tight, it's starting to crack the mask. And they're like, whoa, Prydak, chill. You need to chill. You're going to break the mask. And they're like, so they decide to put it in what is essentially going to be a neutral zone, which is the whale tooth lair or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. And so they got the razor shark or razor whale something or other. I don't know. the razor rail teeth. That's what it's called. So they start swimming down deeper. The razor rail teeth is just this area of a bunch of jagged, sharp rocks, and in the middle of this is this giant four-armed being named Nocturne, who also is a member of the Pit, who is basically Elix's like lieutenant and second in command. And they're talking about him. They're like, "Well, he's crazy and he's weird and whatever." Like, but he did manage to get here. And I think Taxodox or Carper was like, "How did he even get here anyway? What made him here?" He's like, "Oh, he got onto an island and then he broke the island." And the Bohrok-Kal are like, "What? He broke the island?" He's like, "Yeah, he got onto the island and literally split the island in half in a rage. That's why he got sent here." So anyway, so they go down and Prydak goes up to Nocturne. Nocturne is missing a tentacle on one of his arms because he got into a fight with Prydak at one point, and Prydak just sliced it off because Prydak is big brute boss man. He rules through, like, once again, in the same way as like Zactan did, through fear, but also the ability and capacity to back it up. So, gives the mask to Nocturne and says, "Here, keep this here, you hold on to this until we get back, don't let us find it missing." Nocturne's like, "Yeah, sure, okay, whatever, I don't care." And it's just standing around so the Bohrok-Kal go off. The Toa have all escaped from their confines through various means. Huki made a Takea shark float up by reducing its gravity. Holly used her ability to camouflage herself and just sneak past the giant squid that was in front of her. And so on and so forth. Nuparu has found a little cave that is just filled with a stash of weapons, which is where they get all their new swords and weapons and stuff, including these cannons that have the word Kordak written on there. Kordak is, and they're like, "I wonder what these are." Kordak is the Matoran word for desolation. So, like, I'm sure it shoots stuff good. So they all grab a blaster, and they all start heading out of the cave, and they all start making their way out, and they are suddenly all ambushed by the Bohrok-Kal. Meanwhile, Matoro has been listening and talking to the Matoran, and they've been saying, like, "Hey, we're your friends, maybe we..." He's like, they're probably gone by now. Matoro is like, "I have to get out of here, I have to go help them." There's no way I can explain that to these guys, so throws up a wall of ice and just bails off into the water. Bails off into the water and gets grabbed by a tentacle and just thrown down, deep down into the water. And he is grabbed by Hydraxon, who goes, "Get back here, runner, escape you," the pit, and throws into a cell. Jake, yes, Zach.
Can I take Hydraxon to cure COVID?
Maybe with death, I don't know. So Hydraxon throws Matoro in the cellar and says, "You can escape if you want to try, but I wouldn't do it. Check here, we've got Maxilos and the Energy Hounds, and this is Maxilos right here, this big robotic sentry. He is just a straight-up giant robot sentry with an Energy Hound that can track beings that are going around right there, whatever." So Hydraxon leaves to go do some stuff, and Maxilos opens up the cage for Matoro. Matoro is like, "Well, what's the deal?" And all of a sudden, Maxilos starts speaking in a very familiar voice. "Hello, translator and Toa of Ice." And it is Makuta, who has inhabited the body of this Maxilos robot. And Matoro is ready to fight. Maxilos is like, "Hey, wait, why are you going to fight me here, man? Like, you're looking for the Mask of Life? Let me help you. I will help you find the Mask of Life. Like, you gotta save the universe. Because, the universe goes, I go, we all go. So we'll work together on this." But, just to be clear, starts zapping him with like chain lightning and choking him out, and throws Matoro on the floor. "We're going to go back to the other Toa, and you're not going to say shit about who I am. And if you do, I will kill you and all your friends."
Did he say it just like that in front of all the kids that were like reading the book and watching the show? They're like, "You tell shit to them, I'll fucking kill you."
Yeah, sure. Definitely. For sure. Definitely just like that. Or at least that was the subtext.
Maybe if you read the textball, I'm like, fucking God.
I'm sorry.
Worst.
I lost it the first day.
So anyway,
You weren't here the first day.
I know.
Slacker.
So the Toa all begin to get into fights with the Bohrok-Kal. Holly gets grabbed from under the sand. A claw comes out and Manjax pulls her and wounds her. She gets up. She camouflages herself. She's, they're both stalking each other. Tries to find where he's at. Shoots a Kordak blaster at this sea of red spikes over there, thinking it's him. It's just some bones and stuff. Manjax comes up and pinches her again and injects her with poison. It's neurotoxins and stuff. I guess we'll get to the battles later because we're almost out of time. But I guess if that's the case and we're out of time for today, then we'll just cut it right here and get back to it next time.
Baba Booey, Howard's turn.